Wizkids has a title I came across recently I hadn't known about, and I liked it. There was something very interesting about it, so now I want to tell you about Dungeons & Dragons, Dungeon Scrawlers, Heroes of Undermountain. So this is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, and should take about 15 to 20 minutes. In Dungeons & Dragons, Dungeon Scrawlers, Heroes of Undermountain, you and other adventurers are drawn together to delve into Undermountain, an immense underground of dungeons created by the Mad Mage Hallister Blackcloak. Use your markers to trace your path, defeat monsters, casting spells, connecting artifact fragments, and collecting shiny treasure on the way. The round ends when one player defeats the dungeon's mighty boss, so you have only a few minutes to collect as much loot as possible. The player with the most points after exploring 3 dungeons wins the game. At the beginning of each game, players pick one of the 5 characters, each with a thematic ability that helps them collect one type of point more easily as they draw their lines through the maze. Normally, monsters or treasures need to be entirely covered with markers to be collected, but rogues need only to touch treasure, while barbarians need only to fill in the monster's head to defeat them. While anyone can cast a spell by tracing an intricate pattern, a wizard needs only to draw a small circle. Dungeon Scrawlers contains 10 unique mazes of increasing complexity, introducing new challenges as you go. These include portals, locked doors, multiple bosses, time limits, and more! With multiple paths through each maze and over 100 different 3-maze combinations, you'll never have to stop scrolling. That's a pretty big description. But at the same time, I think that description encapsulates and shows how small this big game really is, or how big this small game really is. I'm not sure which way to look at that, which side of the mirror to be standing on here. Now, first of all, Dungeons & Dragons. So anything Dungeons & Dragons does automatically, by default, get my attention. I don't fall for everything. I've passed a few times, I believe. But no, just because it's Dungeons & Dragons doesn't make it an automatic. It just automatically puts it on my list to check out. Now, this is by Wizkids. I trust Wizkids. I've enjoyed Wizkids for years. So if they are bringing a product to the market, the tabletop adventure like this, then I want to know more about it, because I do think they have a good track record. So, reading about this, seeing what other people had to say about this, looking at pictures of this game, this is, I think, a great D&D filler game. There's a few out there, but honestly, there's not enough. And a D&D filler game is so perfect. It gets you in the mood, before maybe you start a full RPG campaign. You can run this with everyone as you're waiting, as they start showing up, and it'll get people in the mood. Maybe you're playing a bigger, larger Dungeons & Dragons board game, like one of the adventure cooperative games or something. Again, this is a great filler game to get everyone's head in the bigger picture of the game before you start it. So I love filler games that thematically fit into other things like this a D&D filler game, because it does just that. It sets everything up in the player and the party's mind, getting them ready for the bigger game. Yeah, that's a positive for me. Now, as I read more about this, it seems that this has a very good, what I think to be a combination. This is a good combination between rules that are easy to learn and to teach. It doesn't take up a big footprint on your table, and it also has a very fast, good playtime. This is like a trifecta of good positive points. Even more things drawing me in closer to that ka-ching buy sound of the cash register going off, It's just one thing after another. And that's what these videos are about one thing after another that has gotten me more and more interested about games, such as Dungeon Scrawlers here. Now, this looks like it has a really great old-fashioned, old-school style, like activity board game thing going on. I think that this might be a really good, potentially great gateway game, Dungeons & Dragons gateway game for younger tabletoppers, younger gamers in your family, in your circle. A really good way to introduce the idea and the concept, I think, to them of Dungeons and Dragons. This the aspect that it took me a moment to kind of get into, being interested about, was the whole simultaneous rounds. I don't know what to call it, but all the players are drawing with their dry erase markers on the map at the same time. This real time action of it. The only thing that has me still a little bit on the fence of it is the size of the map you're playing on versus the size of the table versus the size, and in my case, the width of said players around the table. Is there going to be enough room for me and T-Bone and Ryman and the rest of us to actively all be on this same map at the same time doing this? I don't know. But if it's not a physical problem, then this has gotten my attention as a positive thing. I really am interested in trying this out. So these are the reasons, all together combined, is why I've made this video to tell you, to inform you about this game. Are you a Dungeons & Dragons fan? Maybe you're just a fantasy tabletop fan. Maybe you have younger members of your family that you're always looking for good ways to introduce them to fantasy or Dungeons & Dragons. I think this game hits a lot of, if not all of those marks. So please go out, get yourself some information, make up your own mind about Dungeons & Dragons, Dungeon Scrawlers, Heroes of Undermountain. But I think you just might be interested in this game.